PCCD and OVS want to better inform and educate the field with the OVS consolidated standards. Pennsylvania has long been considered a leader when it comes to these operational standards that are designed to maintain quality services and programming delivered by skilled advocates and staff. The standards are meant to be a guide to VSPs for best practices and excellent service delivery, provide minimum expectations for VSPs, and ensure uniformity of service delivery across the Commonwealth. The standards provide the minimum expectations of victim service delivery and ensure professionalism of the victim services field. PCCD and OVS has launched a series of recordings that will walk program staff through our standards. These will be short recordings up to 30 minutes in length, posted on PCCD's YouTube channel. The OVS newsletter will announce new recordings as they are available. A prior recording called Introduction to PCCD Consolidated Standards is available on PCCD's YouTube channel. PCCD recommends listening to the introductory recording if you have not already done so. In this recording, we will highlight the Victims Compensation Assistance Standard adopted by the Victim Services Advisory Committee, VSAC, in August of 2024. Programs who have PCCD as their oversight entity will need to have a Victims Compensation Assistance policy and procedure in place. Following this training, the program staff contact assigned to your grant can help answer individual questions about this standard in relation to your project. The Victims Compensation Assistance Program, VCAP, is a financial resource available to victims of crime in Pennsylvania that helps victims and their families ease the financial burdens they may face because of crime. The Victim Services Program, or VSP, shall provide information to the victim about victims' compensation assistance and assists, directly or indirectly, in the preparation, filing, and follow-up of any claim for victims' compensation assistance. Assistance may include assisting the victim with gathering documentation and making a referral to another agency within the service area to provide assistance with the filing of the claim. Note, victim service programs who receive Victims of Crime Act or VOCA funding from PCCD must assist crime victims with applying for victims' compensation. VSPs shall receive basic training and remain current on subsequent changes to VCAP in Pennsylvania and compensation procedures in the local service area. Include an explanation of VCAP in the initial contact or letter to the victims. Provide information to all potentially eligible victims about VCAP eligibility, benefits, and filing deadlines. Engage in an initial and ongoing assessment of eligibility for VCAP. If a claim is investigated for potential fraud, the VSP shall cooperate with the VCAP and the Attorney General's office. To comply with the confidential communication standards, the program shall have the following procedure in place. The program shall return all supporting documents to the victim once the claim number has been received from the VCAP, which confirms that the claim has been filed. Exceptions to this rule include the program is statutorily protected, meaning the VSP possesses a full confidentiality privilege, or the victim has signed a consent from expressing consent and understanding of the level of confidentiality that may be afforded to those records. As part of maintaining confidentiality for the victim, VCAP shall obtain verbal or written consent for self-filed claims and/or claims filed by a different VSP. This is required when anyone requests claim information, including a new VSP the victim may have contacted. All VSPs in the service area shall collaboratively create a document identifying all the VSPs in the service area. identifying those that provide assistance in preparing, filing, and following up on VCAP claims, and those that refer victims to another agency for assistance. The information on this document shall be reviewed and updated annually. See the Outreach Standard and Collaboration with Community Agencies Standard. Additionally, a wealth of information on the VCAP program is available on PCCD's website. Users can apply for compensation online or obtain a paper form, find local victim service agencies that can assist, learn about the VCAP program to include basic eligibility requirements, obtain information on the types of losses and expenses that can be covered, and more. For agencies that file claims directly, the following applies. The VSP shall maintain VCAP claim forms and other victims' compensation materials for victims and referral agencies. The material shall be relevant to the victim's primary language needs. See Language Accessibility Standard. The VSP shall ensure that assistance is available to victims in the preparation, submission, and following up on VCAP claims by informing victims of the eligibility requirements for filing the claim, assisting victims in contacting law enforcement, medical providers, insurance providers, billing agents, Social Security Administration, employers, funeral homes, etc., for information, documentation needed to facilitate the claims process. Note, these entities are not an exhaustive list. Providing alternatives such as telephone or off-site visits, where and when appropriate, for victims who cannot visit the VSP to prepare the VCAP application. See use of technology in the provision of services to victims standard. Advising victims that if they receive restitution for bills paid by compensation or a civil settlement as a direct result of the crime in which they filed a claim, then the VCAP shall be reimbursed for awards made on behalf of the victim. VSP shall advocate on behalf of the victim when concerns or issues arise in the compensation review or verification process to facilitate the award of a compensation claim throughout the determination, award, and appeal process. VSP shall develop a relationship with law enforcement to ensure that law enforcement have information on VCAP to provide to potential claimants in both arrest and non-arrest cases. Assist law enforcement who have a statutory responsibility to inform potential claimants of the VCAP program. This may be accomplished through the distribution of victims' rights and services material to include information in the victim's primary language, distribution of claim forms, and providing training to law enforcement officers on VCAP. VSPs that refer victims to other agencies for assistance in completing VCAP claims shall maintain VCAP claim forms and other victims' compensation materials. The material shall be relevant to the victim's primary language needs. Inform victims of the eligibility requirements for filing a claim. PCCD's VCAP brochure is available on our website. Please reach out to your VCAP representative for specific questions. In striving for excellence, the VSP should have a formal presentation and prepared materials to train and educate the public, media, local organizations, and law enforcement agencies about victims' compensation assistance. The VSP should also consider providing staff the opportunity to attend trainings on VCAP, including the use of PCCD's statewide automated claims processing system called Dependable Access for Victimization Expenses, or DAVE, to file claims electronically, check on claim statuses, and access statistical data concerning their program. VSP should also follow up with law enforcement regarding personal injury and non-arrest cases to determine if victims' compensation information was made available to the victim. With the victim's consent, VSP should also act as a liaison and advocate for the victim by maintaining contact with service providers and/or creditors to explain the compensation program and intervene on behalf of the victim when needed. See the individual advocacy standard. Relevant legislation can be found in Title 18 PA Criminal Statutes Section 1106, C1.I, and C1.II, and Section 11.701. Title 18 11.701 details persons eligible for compensation under the Crime Victims Act. Please email or call the program staff contact assigned to your grant with any questions. Thank you.